but his emails, Bad Bunny's billion, and Connecticut's good for something. Welcome to the Unlimited Supply Podcast, your daily music business TLDR in your ear, powered by informed speculation and brought to you by No Disc, helping music technology and finance companies navigate the music industry in partnership with Digital Music News. It's June 25th, 2026. I'm Lars Murray. It's Touring Thursday, but before we hit the road, I've often said I'm not a big fan of Connecticut. Though I was technically born there, I left the next day and never looked back. In my life, Connecticut exists mostly as a traffic impediment between New York and actual functional New England. Occasionally, though, Connecticut is good for something. In this case, it's providing the venue for an interesting little piece of litigation. Recording artist Mark Kratter did his homework and tracked his Spotify activity very carefully. What he came up with in March was a pretty compelling little piece of forensic data analysis that he's alleging with some credibility that Spotify is ripping him off. Kratter used his Spotify analytics to show that activity like algorithmic referrals, saves, and radio plays are not being credited at all as streams. Now, it's possible that somebody saves an artist and doesn't listen to them, or that Kratter's music is just so bad that when the radio station cues it up, people hit skip right away every single time. I confess I may have done that with Fetty Wap, but I am a professional, not a consumer. So, it all seems a little far-fetched that Kratter would be so skippable. But Kratter goes further in the lawsuit, alleging that Spotify is doing this to keep him under the 1,000-stream limit that would require them to pay him out, in which case that equates to robbing from Kratter to pay Drake. Seriously, who wants that other than Drake or Spotify? Dylan Smith has the story over at Digital Music News. Speaking of Drake and Spotify, while Drake lost just about every aspect of his beef with Kendrick Lamar and appears to be trying hard to get out of his deal with Universal Music, he did ring up a win last week when a judge dismissed a case alleging that Drizzy had engaged in a fraudulent streaming scheme and Spotify looked the other way. Apparently, the plaintiff didn't do as good a job as Mark Kratter of providing forensic analysis to support their case, and the judge said, no mas. The full story is over at Music Business Worldwide. Okay, let's hit the road. Documents from the various lawsuits against Live Nation are starting to leak out. Over at Digital Music News, Ashley King is on the case. The big headline is that prior to the Federal Department of Justice settling their big case against Live Nation and Ticketmaster, that Ticketmaster head Michael Rapino had met personally with the president. While it's hard to imagine that having happened with any other president at this point, it's hardly surprising. And the ramifications of a meeting with a guy whose entire brand is the art of the deal shouldn't require a whole lot of deductive reasoning. Personally, I am shocked that the head of a let's just be charitable and call it a duopoly met with the president and subsequently a settlement was reached rather quickly without the participation of most of the parties, including attorneys on both sides. Again, in any other political reality, shocking. In this one, Tuesday. But his emails, the other thing that emerged from these documents, was a rather revealing Rapino email exchange. Again, not surprising, and I say this speaking as someone who has seen Rapino emails. The exchange that Ashley wrote up was a discussion between Rapino and one of his minions discussing the cost and benefits of Ticketmaster's verified fan program. I'll let you review the article for yourself, but to say the least, the interests of the verified fans were not foremost in Rapino's thinking, nor apparently in the thinking of some pretty big artists, including Beyonce and Garth Brooks, though Dead & Company, PJ Harvey, and Billie Eilish come out pretty well in the exchange. Again, worth the read if you're wondering what you're dealing with every time you buy a ticket. Nefarious ticketing practices are not exclusively a U.S. phenomenon, though. They also happen in the U.K. One difference is that in the U.K., they have consequences, albeit pretty small ones. But a UK court ordered Stubhub to pay damages to 50,000 aggrieved customers who complained that Stubhub was adding hidden fees onto their ticket orders without disclosing them. The amount in the big picture is pretty paltry. I mean, 50,000 people is basically a Manchester United sellout, and the £1.2 million settlement amounted to about 10 quid a piece, although that is roughly 5 times what American users got in the States cases against Ticketmaster. Well, I guess we do have consequences a little bit over here. A very busy Ashley King covered that one also over at Digital Music News. And if the practices of the ticketing platforms aren't enough of a challenge for consumers, there's the issue of ghost tickets on resale platforms. You know, those pre-sold tickets that aren't actually tickets until scalpers have acquired them? Well, the unrestrained corruption bonanza that is the World Cup has shined a light on the practice once again. The latest protest against ghost tickets is coming from the National Independent Venue Association and Fan Alliance. They sent a letter to House Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Majority Leader John Thune, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, and Senate Minority Leader Charles Schumer, using the World Cup's ticketing issues, and ghost tickets are just the tip of the iceberg there, as an occasion to point out how toxic the practice is. Selling tickets that really don't exist to an unsuspecting fan is shady and may result in the fan not getting anything close to what they paid for. Actually, come to think of it, that sounds a lot like FIFA's system. But that's another issue. Bravo to NIVA and the Fan Alliance for holding Congress's feet to the fire. Taylor Mims had the story at Billboard. And let's finish up with a little bit of upbeat news for a change. You may or may not be a huge Bad Bunny fan, but he's definitely worth rooting for, if for no other reason than that Super Bowl halftime show. He continued his epic 2026 run by becoming the first Latin artist to earn $1 billion touring, a feat all the more impressive because he spent a big chunk of last year playing a residency in Puerto Rico, rather than cashing in even bigger by touring the US and Europe. I don't generally feel the need to root for billionaires, and I don't know where he stands on verified fans, but I tend to think Bad Bunny would be on the right side of that one too. So, congrats, Benito. You've earned your billion as much as anyone. Every Thursday, we spend an inordinate amount of time scanning the listings, sifting for nuggets, and helplessly hoping that one day Claude will be able to do this for us. Yes, by brute force, we assemble and discuss the artists dominating their markets, a few artists who might be punching above their weight, and a few, you might be surprised, still have tickets available in the U.S. music capitals, New York, L.A., and Nashville. We call it the Who Sells Out. In New York City, Tortoise and Lorraine still have tickets available tonight at the Knockdown Center. Old friends Rufus Du Sol, though, however, have sold out tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday, and Sunday, all at Madison Square Garden. Good for you guys. Barry Manilow's The Last Newark concert tomorrow night at The Rock is sold out. But if you're stuck out in Jersey and you can't get into Barry, you can see Alison Krauss in Union Station. Still a bunch of tickets there at NJ Pack. MGMT are playing a DJ set at Ruins at the Knockdown Center. That's tomorrow night. Unfortunately, you ain't going to get into that one. It's a sellout. In LA, still a few tickets available for the Roots Picnic Experience featuring the Roots, Nas, T.I., Bun B, and more. That's at the Hollywood Bowl. The big sellouts this week, Rosalia's Lux Tour 2026 on Monday and Wednesday. In Nashville, Super Drag are playing tonight at the East Side Bowl. It's part of a 3-night stand. Tonight is Unplugged. Still tickets available for all 3 nights, with Bobby Bear Jr. opening tomorrow and Shape and Sound opening on Saturday. There are still 3-day passes available for the big Super Drag fans. Cassidy Pope is playing at Cannery Hall tonight. Still some tickets available for that. But the big show of the week is Alan Jackson's Big Farewell Tour. That's Saturday night at Nissan Stadium, with the entire royalty of country paying tribute. George Strait, Carrie Underwood, Luke Combs, Miranda Lambert, Eric Church, Luke Bryan, Thomas Rhett, Lainey Wilson, and many more. Again, sold out. You ain't getting near that one. But you can go see the live stream at the Fisher Center at Belmont University if you still really want to see it. Also at the stadium on Tuesday, Post Malone is presenting the Big Ass Stadium Tour Part 2. Post has had some trouble selling tickets. This one is not sold out. Support for Unlimited Supply is provided by you, our listeners. And if you want to support us, you can support us by getting the Unlimited Supply trucker hat. It's the ultimate accessory for the music insider. It'll signal to other industry insiders that you know the real score. You know who sells out, that no conflict means no interest, and that one rod equals $100 million. And most of all, it signals that you know who you are and why you are here in every situation. You can get them at unlimitedsupplypod.com. Links are in the show notes, but you can also visit unlimitedsupplypod.com to sign up for our newsletter, to tell us what you think about the show, to suggest feature ideas, to feed us info, to feed us lunch, to call us out on our dubious assertions, and to tell us what we're missing out on. I'm Lars Murray, and remember, in this business, no conflict means no interest.